So we're at Midgley's Public House on the Brick Walk. Chef Midgley, of course. JD Luster, associate coach, head coach Leonard Perry. It's a rainy day. Happy holidays, by the way.
I think that's underbilling, man. This guy's a coach genius, associate coach, man. He stole it from Utah. That's a steal.
Are we?
Come on now.
I think we're doing some. I think we're doing some soups.
Hey, bring out our soups.
Both of our soups?
Both of them.
Okay.
3 of them.
What? Yeah. What?
Yeah, bring you one with the chili and some nacho cheese on it, and then the other 2 daily soups.
2 daily soups and 1 chili?
Yeah, in the soup bowl though with some nacho cheese on it.
Okay.
Chop up a hot dog or 2, throw it in there. We're just improvising so you guys all 3 have something different. We can edit that, yeah?
How was Thanksgiving for you, man?
I'll tell you what, Thanksgiving was great. And you know, the best part
You guys open on Thanksgiving?
We were open on Thanksgiving, but it was just a few days prior to that, man. We just bought a new food truck, and it just got delivered from LA. LA Custom Food Trucks did an amazing job. And the fires, man, we got to take it up there.
Oh, nice.
Before I made $1 on the food truck, man, it's like I got this food truck. I called up a couple of vendors. They donated money.
That's awesome.
We went up there and fed over 1,000 people, misplaced people, first responders.
So you went up to the
We went
Chico
up to
area?
Chico, man, and we were like in it. You couldn't see up there. And, man, I told him, I said, Red Cross, FEMA, I was like, you need me to come back, I'll come back. And then, Stockton got behind it. They heard what I did. And
That's amazing.
Mayor Tubbs, awesome, man. We were the first city, I think, in California outside of the fires to, start a program to, help, gather funds. And
That's amazing.
That's cool. So that was pretty cool. So that was my Thanksgiving. I felt good about that. And,
That's awesome.
and, it's a shameless plug, but hey, Midgley's got to help himself to help people. You know what I mean?
We're here to help Midgley so we can help people. It's all good.
Oh, you had the Instagram and social media. The more support I get from showing everyone I'm doing, the more we can help people.
I would have loved to be here at Midgley's on Thanksgiving, but Coach Perry had to schedule a game on Thanksgiving.
Because we need something to watch
I
on
was
Thanksgiving.
prevented from doing so.
That game kept people from fighting in families.
But we won.
Trust
But we won. This is a baked potato soup?
Yeah.
Baked potato.
The turkey.
Baked potato turkey. We got chili coming out with the hot dogs, yeah.
Yes. Looks really good.
You want the baked potato soup? Here you go, man.
And that's loaded baked potato, not like any of this new stuff they're talking about. We're not in Denver.
Do you want the
It's
turkey
loaded
or
in
the,
sense
do you want
it's
the
got
turkey or the
cheese,
chili?
bacon, chives. But you know what? Sometimes people forget. Back in the day, soup was a meal. That was supper.
Yeah, it was.
You eat your big meal in the middle of the day. You go to any old folks home across America, man. Dinner is 12 o'clock.
Man.
And then supper in the evening,
That
man.
is so
Have a
good.
sandwich, some soup,
Yeah.
salad.
I still do that for supper, man.
In Europe, soup is still a big part of.
It's like an entree.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you eat
Yeah.
your big
How
meal
is that?
during the day to push you through the rest of the day,
Yeah.
burn those calories.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Potato soup is so
That's
good.
potato. That's the loaded
I
potato
might not
soup.
be involved in this discussion.
Hey, it's okay. Eat that up. Get it on your face. Carl's Jr. that, we get a big girl up here that works in there and be like that new model they got. Yeah.
The turkey soup
I was
is
like, look at.
delicious.
I didn't know there was a whole thing with this Carl's Jr. scale. Like, they got this girl from Instagram who was posing as famous models. I just saw it and I was like, good for Carl's Jr. Got regular folk over there.
Oh,
advertising
that's
the
like
burgers. But I guess it was like an Instagram model that was a little chubby,
God.
posing as the hot models. I just thought they got right. Like, this is what normal people look like. Eating a burger.
Asparagus cigars.
Oh, yeah, asparagus cigar. Well, you guys have done the vegan wings before, but eat them again.
Oh, these are the vegan
Can't
wings?
plug those enough. Athletes like to eat vegan food.
This is the cauliflower wings,
It's cauliflower.
right? Coach Perry has some of the real wings coming
And
out.
these are the asparagus cigar. First thing I ever learned how to cook. Besides pouring a bowl of cereal or instant pancake mix.
These are so good, and I love the chili
Right.
sauce that goes with
Yeah,
it.
that's that mapo. You get that at any Asian store or in the authentic aisle at the store.
The hot chili sauce.
Yeah, it's mapo. They call it.
You like?
Mike? What do you enjoy preparing the most?
Man, I enjoy cooking food. It just makes people like, damn, that was easy. I could do that. And maybe you get my lady to like me a little bit more.
But there's got to be one thing.
Now, you know what I like? My favorite thing for me is spaghetti and not meatballs. Like braised Italian sausages in the sauce
yeah.
all day. And growing up, that's what that was my dad's thing, especially during like the winter months, like right now.
Sunday gravy.
Hey, go with latchkey kids, self-employed parents, and hey, Sunday though the whole family ate together. That was mandatory. And my dad would do his spaghetti probably 2 times a month, and he'd get these Italian sausages from the store, and he'd brown them, and then just put them in the sauce like 8 hours. It was like on Goodfellas, man. I had to go stir the sauce.
Yep.
Don't let it burn.
Did you cut the?
But we'd be watching the games, and it's just sports and cooking that sauce, man. And I remember the first time I had one of those Italian sausages braised in this sauce. I cut it with a spoon that, I twisted my pasta with. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
He's like, that's your dad's cooking, son. Yeah. He said if I could do it all over again, I'd be a chef.
Yeah.
And he was a private investigator, insurance adjuster.
Yeah.
And, lost boy in the sense he wanted to play pro sports, pro baseball. And, had a midlife crisis and realized he wasn't ever going to do that. Like, holy shit, I've never even seen you at a Little League practice, man, right now. Yeah. No, but he said he'd be a chef again because he said chefs get all the chicks. You don't even have to hit the gym.
Case in point.
So I was like, hey, you're funny, you know how to cook, you don't got to work out. These babies love you. The bartenders soften them up for you, those good-looking guys, those CrossFit dudes. And then the chefs pick up the pieces and
there you go.
have the good times.
Did you slice the garlic on with
I did try that.
You see Goodfellas?
You could buy it like that.
Yeah. They're in prison and they're like slicing the garlic with the razor blade.
It'd be more cool if I actually got to make that meal in prison.
Yeah, oh, no
I'd be
doubt.
like, ask like one of the other gangs in prison,
Someone
like,
bringing you
yo,
chops.
give me a razor out of your belt or something. But now you can buy that stuff from Kilroy Farms and already.
What is your family request most for you to cook?
You know what it is? It's my grandma's recipes because she's getting a little older. I whammy her kids even. My uncle and man. Oh, look at you. Ask grandma for her chili recipe on a recipe card for Christmas. I was like, yeah, you asked for a sales system.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
I said, I got grandma's heart, man. And when that wheel goes down, who she's gonna love the most.
That's right.
It's like grandma's over there. My grandma's got this perfect penmanship that was only taught to. Hey, my grandmother's simple lady, but she could write cursive, like you see.
Nobody writes cursive.
No, she has handwriting like in the Constitution, man. It was like, hey, my family comes from simple, upbringings, and we're more rich folk, but you knew how to read and you know how to write, and handwriting was like a sign of like respect for yourself, and you're educated. My grandmother, 84 years old, man, and she could write like Benjamin Franklin. She could do that stuff. And asking her for recipes handwritten, I got them framed, man.
Really?
It's the best gift. Wow. Anybody out there that has older grandparents still alive, I'm not a doctor, but I write like one.
Illegible.
I was in the in-between, like, ain't no one gonna be writing stuff down in the future. Using computers with the blinking green cube. And, anyway, so that's what my grandmother writes the recipes down, and that's the stuff I like to make, especially around the holidays when everybody comes together. Maybe she's got 4 or 5 if we're lucky left. And they're gonna count on me to make that chili, the macaroni salad, all the things my grandmother's been making for, just even her mom, 100 years. And if you don't pay attention and do that, you're gonna lose that.
Yes, you are.
Because smells and tastes bring you back. You go somewhere else for Thanksgiving because you get married or something, right? Yeah. Oh, we're going to my family's house for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Oh shit, this is gonna kill grandma. She's not gonna like you ever, because everyone's got that one family like, oh no, we have to go to my house.
Yeah.
Well, you go to that house and there's no love in the food.
Yeah.
You go to my house, you understand why I'm a chef. That's my grandma, my aunt, my mom, the other kids in my family that aren't chefs, but know how to throw down.
Yeah.
Because that's what we had, man. We had food. We worked all week to get money and prep for that one meal, and it still brings everybody together. So I know I'm going long. You guys edit this, whatever.
That
But
would be for Coach Perry right here.
that's what we do, man.
Thank you.
And
Oh
that's
God.
the favorite things I like to cook. My grandma's stuff, my dad's recipes.
Do you want me taking?
I mean, if you're eating just to eat, man, have a power bar.
Yeah.
If you got time to sit down
Yeah.
and get away from coaching
Yeah.
and get away and actually like listen and sit down at a table and talk to people, get to know people, and then that's when it's food that brings you together, because you can eat that meal 5 years later and be like, man, it reminded me of that one time.
Yeah.
Last time I was eating with my cousin.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that in this world we live in. It's instant gratification
They really do.
and shopping on Amazon. And,
Yeah.
man, food is what we need to live, man.
Yeah. People communicate. All your family usually comes over, and everybody tells a bunch of stories. And
Right there.
find out something new about a relative every time.
Hey, every once in a while you get that one relative that doesn't drink that starts drinking. And then you give them a soapbox to stand on.
Find
Hey.
out something new every time.
Hey, cousin Julie's going at it tonight. It's her turn in the barrel.
That's right.
Yeah, I have things to do. I work for the Livermore Lab. Gone for 3 weeks at a time. I'm blowing up bombs in the desert.
Is that the natural segue into talking about these hot dogs?
That's right. And those hot dogs. Those
Chili
things-
cheese dogs?
Those things will be around after Holocaust or whatever. Any, dude, no, Holocaust. That's the wrong word. I'm talking about
Oh, the
I see that.
they were the world ends, man.
yeah, the
People are gonna
nuclear
be
Holocaust.
People are gonna be eating hot dogs with nacho
And Twinkies.
cheese, and stuff left,
Hot
and
dogs
Twinkies
and
and
Twinkies.
snowballs. Hey, those hot dogs, $10. You get 2 chili cheese fries. It's
Delicious,
just simple
man.
things, man.
They look good.
delicious, man.
Really
And
good.
we're a nice restaurant, wine glass on the table, but we have a menu and specials that everybody can eat here. Hey, just come in here and spend some time, eat some
I'll
good
keep these
food.
two in line. So you won't
These
ask
guys are
them
good.
again.
These guys are more well-traveled than me. Man, trust me. I had to play basketball at the Seaford Center because I played 1 year at the Lincoln Elementary League, and my dad said they're soft. You gotta go play there at the Seaford Center, and I'm gonna drop you off, and there's no parents over there, and you gotta learn to be a man. And they dropped me out there. He dropped me out there, man. The kid's like, "That's your dad? What'd you do, man?" And I'm going to Bear Creek next year. And they said, "Man, that's messed up." No, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't play basketball there either.
Yeah.
Just found out I was even worse.
What was your sport?
Man, my sport was baseball, and then golf, football, baller, but I was like Rudy Rudiger, man.
Rudy Rudiger.
But no, man, I just grew up in Stockton, man. It's multicultural, and I remember one time I had a paper route. People chasing me for my money from collecting. And my dad drives by me and just waves. I live in a nice neighborhood surrounded by a bad neighborhood, though, right? And when I get home, he's on the front porch. He goes, "Aren't you glad that you made some money, got that GT? I knew you'd outrun those guys."
That's how you build character, right?
Hey, and then the kids in the neighborhood, that street that got collected. "Hey, your dad didn't even stop and help you, man." He gave me street cred, But I was like, "What if they caught me?" He goes, "Well, I guess you would have lost all that money, and you would owe the paper people some money." He wasn't gonna pay my bill for me, No, he was like, if you got caught, they would have taken your cash, and you still would have to get up and deliver those papers tomorrow.
You got to figure it out,
Because
right?
but at least they know you're not a punk. And then next thing you know, like one kid at school goes, "Hey, you didn't deliver the paper at my mom's house today." I go, "Yeah, your mama owes me $11.31." And you stop chasing me every time I come get that money.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. Man, this guy's coming to the restaurant now. Everybody from my neighborhood made it. No, serious. Hey, we were all paper boys, man. We made the donut shop, and we all had paper bags on our bike handles. We meet at the donut shop in the morning after our routes. We had money to take chicks out to eat in 10th grade, or not 10th grade, like 6th grade, going to movies. But all those guys that had a paper route, they own businesses. They're running stuff where they work. And I'm telling you,
They
man.
probably learned all the fundamentals from having a paper
It's
route.
about more that delivering papers is a child's job, a young man's job, and now they're giving it to adults and whatever. Now they're 29 years old, still paying for
No
your
one
kid to
needs
have a
no one
birthday.
needs to hustle anymore, is what it is.
Like, I'm going along, man. I tell you, dude, I've been drinking that bourbon. You
Chef,
get
this
me
looks
started on the paper route.
This looks amazing, man.
Hey, enjoy it, man.
Appreciate
and,
it, Mike.
I can't wait to get out to the game.
We got you, chef.
It's the
All right,
best
guys.
restaurant in
Hey.
town, man.
Appreciate it,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey,
I
and we always
appreciate
got
it, man.
sports on the bar.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
out.
Thanks, man. I hope your
My
voice feels
came
better.
back.
I hope
I think
so.
I'm onto something with that hot bourbon.
All right, Mike.
Best restaurant in town, baby, please.
Yep. Oh, we're good now. How's you guys' Thanksgiving? I know we were working, but you know, after the fact, you get some family time. Obviously, it was better after a win.
Well, we after the fact, we had to scout the next opponent, which ended up being a really tough game. So, long day, Thanksgiving was. You know, it was hectic time, scheduling wise, coming back from UNLV and
Man,
trying
what
to
a
get prepared for the tournament.
what a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember a month that was more hectic since I've been doing the games than this month in terms of the travel. I mean, there was some tough trips, like SIU Edwardsville.
Yeah.
You're going to St. Louis and then bussing over, and it's a half hour each way just to shoot around and back. Pocatello, Idaho. I mean, you're flying into Salt Lake City, 2.5 hours, on a bus to get there. I mean, that's people don't see that. They see the game on the schedule. They don't see all the minutia that goes into getting there.
Yeah.
So add all that up, plus the Thanksgiving tournament.
Yeah.
It's a tough
Like,
stretch, man.
8 games in 19 days.
Yeah. 8 games, 19 days. So that's
And then going to Vegas a day early because of
almost
the
a
smoke.
game every other day, if you really think about it.
Very reminiscent to an NBA schedule at times.
And I give our guys a lot of credit. As you mentioned, the travel was, hectic. We flew across the country. We had short turnarounds, but haven't heard our guys complain one time. They've showed up every day, and it's been a business mindset, business approach, and they try to do what we've asked of them every day. So
UNLV game was tough. I mean, how did you guys come out of that UNLV game? It was one of those games I wasn't sitting courtside. They have you up on the mezzanine, so usually I can get a feel for how things are going on the bench, but I didn't get a feel for it. I could just see there was the end result, and obviously it wasn't what you guys were hoping. I think you guys maybe thought that game might be a barometer game for where the team was at. How did you process what happened at UNLV with a 26-point loss?
yeah, I think that game was a little different. We got back from a road trip from Idaho, and due to the fires, we had to leave right away. So I think that was a bit different. We were in Vegas, just basically sitting in the hotels. We tried to take the guys out and do different things, but it was a little unconventional as far as our travel and what we're accustomed to. But that Vegas team is a really good team. They got some guys that's returning as good players, and I give them credit. They came out and played well.
I think, during the course of a 33, 34 game schedule in a year, you're going to have a night where you catch a team and they're playing great and you don't play so well. I think the travel and the suddenness of us changing plans once we got home to having to turn right back around in 24 hours and leave again kind of caught us off guard a little bit. I think that, our kids were caught a little off guard with their length and athleticism. That's something we can't simulate. We just came from a road game. There was a huge win for us on the road. Idaho State had just beaten Boise State at Boise State, a program that rarely loses at home. And I think our kids we were on a pretty good high. As we're building this thing, these are things that you're going to have to get used to, almost like the Gonzaga effect, if you will. Like every night those guys are used to playing big games. Idaho State was a big game for us. We got it done. We came back, maybe still on a little high, and turned right around and had to leave because of the fires, and we ran into a team that was on edge. UNLV was on edge. I think they were very concerned about Pacific. I don't think they took us lightly. I think UNLV maybe took Loyola Marymount for granted earlier and didn't take into consideration that they had gotten better. They had a lot of returnees. They've got a lot of seniors. And, they got hit in the teeth by Loyola Marymount. I'm sure they had some tough practices, and they were on edge in that game. And I think we caught their best to date. As a matter of fact, I know we did. And they probably caught our worst to date. So the combination was not good, and we ended up taking that one on the chin.
Tell you what, going back to Idaho State game, and I talked with Stoudemire after the game and in our post game, and I said, Coach, I feel like I've had this conversation many times with you before, and you know the outcome was always a loss in a game like this, you know. And my line of questioning to him would be, oh, you know, Coach, obviously a spirited effort for your guys, but coming up just short again, you know. Whereas this time, Coach, spirited effort from your guys, and you turned the corner a little bit, and you got a win, and you were down by 6 at the half. I think you guys were down by 11, as many as 11 in that game. That was a tough game, man. I mean, the teams were throwing haymakers. They were answering, it seemed, whatever Pacific was doing. I felt like that was a turning point in terms of the culture you guys are trying to build for this program. Would you agree? Either one of you can take it.
Well, you know, having watched all of Idaho State's games, knowing that they won 15 games last year, they finished maybe a game or two above the middle of the pack in a very competitive Big Sky Conference. I thought that they had a chance. I saw the guys that they signed. And then I ran into Coach Evans, the head coach at Idaho State this summer. And he said, Leonard, it's the best group I've had since I've been here. That's when I started getting nervous.
Wow.
So them opening up at Gonzaga, and they lost by a lot, but if you look at the first 12 minutes of that game, they played very well. And as I was watching that game, getting prepared for our game with them, I was nervous. I was like, oh, you know, these guys have some really good players.
They were picked to finish 8th in the Big Sky. They're going to finish better than 8th in the Big Sky.
Yeah, I agree with that. Boyd is playing really, really well. They've got shooters everywhere. And they went in the Boise State game, which I was watching intently because we have to go there. And they pulled that game out, and my shoulders just went, whoa. I said, are you kidding me? Of all the times they're going to have an all-timer. So they were playing at an extremely high clip when we come marching in. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, not to anyone else, but to myself, like, we couldn't have scheduled this at a worse time.
It was like Arizona State last year, right?
Yeah, it's just the timing was just horrible for us. And they're playing at an all-time clip, and they come out, and I'm like, they're firing on all cylinders, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So our kids had to regroup, and we were catching them at an all-time high. You know, they've got 5 or 6 guys playing at their very best since they've been there. Boyd's having an all-time night, a career night.
It was amazing.
And I'm like, are you serious right now? So we weathered the storm. We got in the half, and you know, Coach Luster, as a matter of fact, stepped forward and challenged the guys at halftime. And he got after him really good, and he was on point. He was dead on. And, you know, the season's a long season, and everybody on our staff is going to have an opportunity where you're going to have to step up, and you're going to have to give a different voice. And we all knew that, you know, this was a perfect time for it to come from Coach Luster, and he got in there and dug into him at halftime and challenged him. And Coach Stoudemire and myself, we just sat there, you know, on the outside of the locker room and listened. And there wasn't much else to say. We brought it in. We brought the huddle in. It came out in the second half. We withstood another quick barrage, and then we settled in and we started getting after it, you know, possession by possession. And when we started chopping the wood, there were bits of oak flying around, and you know, eventually the tree started to tilt. And with about 3 minutes to go, Ajari got in. Well, no, it was much further than that. Ajari came in earlier than that, but we were still chopping wood when he came in. Birdie played really well defensively. I mean, he was great. Jeremiah had some big plays offensively, some tip-ins. Anthony had some big baskets. We got stops. We got consecutive stops. I believe in the second half, we held them to like 33% or 34%
something like that,
in the second half.
mid-30s.
And that was huge for us.
You mentioned Ajari. Were you gonna say something? I don't want to interrupt.
I think some of that comes with experience too. You know, this is the first year. You know, year one we got here, we inherited a program, and those guys moved on. We had a brand new team, and then you know, this year we got 4 or 5 guys who are coming back, who are returners, who were the bulk of the team. So some of those losses in previous years, like you mentioned, you know, now they've learned their lesson. They've grew through those experiences. And I think that's what you're seeing a little bit at Idaho State, you know, just the maturity of the guys like Roberto, Jalil Tripp, and Anthony Towns, and guys who have been here. You know, they've been able to go through the bumps and bruises, and now they're teaching the new guys, you know, what to expect and how to get through those tough times. So I think some of it is due to experience.
Well, it's funny you say that, because then there's the experience, but then you bring in a guy off the bench in Ajari who becomes the X factor in that game, and he starts making shots, and that's when you really felt the tide start to turn. What's it like to be able to have a weapon like that, to be able to, you know, bring him off the bench, a pure shooter? And I know that he still has growing to do at this level, but it's a pretty nice. I don't think Pacific's had that since Alec Cobre was here, and that's going back a few years.
I think it's been, you know, great to have at our arsenal, you know, a guy that can come in and you know that you can't help off of him. You know that if you put him in the game, that they have to respect him from the outside. And, you know, one thing that Coach Perry always says, you can't coach fear, and he doesn't have it. You know, he comes in those big moments, and he's confident. You know, he steps up and take those shots. You know, some of those shots, most freshmen would have been nervous and would have shied away from those moments, but, you know, he's a guy that has no fear. He believes in himself, and, you know, he's here every night putting in the work, so when he gets in the game, he lets it fly.
After the game, I was like, what did making those shots do for your confidence? He goes, I already have the confidence. I mean, he was brash, which was fun. I mean, it was fun for me to have that interaction with him on the post game. But I didn't realize that not only could he shoot, but he's brash for a true freshman.
It was about 19:30 left on the clock in the second half. I told Coach Stoudemire, hey, look, if things don't go right here in the first 2 or 3 minutes here, let's go at Jari and see if he can throw a few in. Knowing that the kid has no fear offensively. He's a true freshman, so there are going to be nights where he doesn't hit the rim. Offensively, they just are. All freshmen go through it, but by and large, you know, teams aren't going to be able to just sit in a zone for 20 minutes to try to win a game like happened to us last year. You know, in the Santa Claras, you know, there were some games where teams would just sit in the zone because they didn't think we could shoot the ball consistently. Well, we've got a few guys with Kai, Ajari, you know, you add that with Lafayette, with Birdie, like you can't just sit in that zone anymore. You got to come out and guard us, and eventually we'll start to wear on you, and that defense will loosen up. So we enjoy having him, and we certainly enjoy his confidence. I wish he were that confident defensively, consistently. That would be great. Because there were moments in our most recent game where, you know, a guy went by him so bad that I thought he had the flu. You know, it was a blow by. I said, do you need a coat? Because, you know, and he's a good kid. He's really smart with his basketball IQ. So if something happens in a game, you can mention it one time, and he knows what you're talking about, as opposed to kids that are still catching up from a basketball IQ standpoint, and you've got to explain that 2 or 3 different ways.
How do you deploy Ajari in a game? Like you said, you know, to Stoudemire, hey, we might want to go Ajari here. Obviously, he's not someone you're looking to push too far too soon, but how do you figure out when's the right time to get him in, try and get him involved in a game? And it could be that question be about any freshman.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a feel. You know, that's a feel from Coach Stoudemire. It's a feel. Some games are really physical. You know, right from the jump. And if the officiating is not where they're calling it very tight, they're kind of letting us play a little bit. Those games there needs to be some tread worn down on the tires before you stick them out there. I don't think you stick them out there from jump, you know, right at the 15-minute mark in the first half, because, you know, the hounds are loose, and you got to run them down a little bit so the pressure subsides and then you come in with them, once that pressure kind of goes down a little bit. But in the first 10 minutes, when the hyenas are loose, you don't want to put them out there like that. So you let the guys that are out there kind of wear it down, and then when he comes in, the game is a little bit slower than it normally would be.
Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a field thing. It's whatever the game calls for. There'll be some games where, coach, from a field standpoint, feel the need to put them in early, and then there'll be some games where there's no right answer. It's kind of just a gauge thing. You kind of gauge it, and sometimes you just have a gut feeling, and you go with it.
Is this team at this point in the season where you guys thought it would be? Is it maybe a little bit behind the curve where you thought it would be, ahead of the curve?
Well, every time that we feel, as a staff, like, okay, everything's normal here and we're fine. The restrictions yank at us. It kind of pulls us in terms of bodies. Like, okay, if a guy goes down coming into this year, like coming into the summer, we're thinking, okay, we're good. We're good. 10 healthy bodies. We got something. We know what we're working with. Now we don't know the finished product, but just from a body standpoint, because we haven't had that in a year, we're thinking, okay, we're good. We got some depth. We feel good about the depth, and then we go home and go to sleep. We come back the next day, our body's down. Amari's out.
Yeah.
And it's like a gunshot, through your left shoulder, and they say, oh yeah, by the way, you're fighting Mike Tyson tomorrow, with the gunshot. So you're like, hold on, wait a second, can we get some surgery here and a little rehab? No, the fight starts at 7 tomorrow, and it's Mike Tyson. So that seems to catch up with us, from a body standpoint, and we always have to figure that out, along the way, and it gets tough. We're 5-3 right now, in our third year. This is going to be a winning month, no matter what. We haven't had that.
No matter what happens at Fresno
No matter
State.
what happens, this is going to be a winning month, and that is a major deal for us. We've been trying for it. We've been fighting for it. That's a big deal to Coach Stoudemire. That's a big deal. We're going to leave November with a winning month. We had a heartbreaker with Abilene Christian.
God, they're good too.
That's a really good team.
They're really good. I was impressed. They were well coached.
Good team. Very good. Knowing that going into December makes us pretty excited. We're still figuring out our team. We don't have a complete set rotation. Guys are still emerging one night, and maybe not so much the next night. Another guy's emerging. So it's fun still putting the pieces of the puzzle together. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But from an effort standpoint, and the rigors of the way the season started, in terms of the travel, and the consecutive games, we're pretty pleased.
Well, I got to say, and you might be able to back me up on this, I overheard you on the bus. You were talking to one of the coaches, and you said, man, scheduling is a science. There's a science to this schedule.
Question.
You're a mad scientist, man, because I think this schedule is pretty good. I mean, you're going to leave the month of November with a winning month, and then you got home games. I mean, you got, and I'm not saying these are wins by any means, but you got, Air Force and, Permian Basin game, which is Division II, and then Long Beach State, Cal State Northridge is on the road at Boise State, and then home versus UC Riverside. I mean, those are good home games. I mean, they're quality home games, but they're games that you could potentially win.
Yeah.
You're not going on the road to play number 2 Arizona State like we had to do before Christmas last year. I mean, I think the schedule was constructed extremely well for where this team is at this year.
Keep in mind, Idaho State, Southern Illinois, all those guys have to come back.
Right.
So that's a huge component of what we're doing. As we construct this schedule, Zach, like for instance, before we started filming, you asked me about, why we were playing University of Texas Basin, and I said,
I'd never heard of them.
I said because I'm familiar with the coach. I know what his teams are like. I know how they play. I know how our bodies are going to feel at this point in the season. Right on this day, I know exactly where we are mentally. I know exactly where we are physically. I know that, for instance, if Basin throws out an all-timer, we're going to need Ajari to come off the bench and play really, really well for us. I knew Cal State Stanislaus was going to be a tough game for the first 15 minutes. Like, I knew that. I knew that was going to be the biggest game of their season, was to come to Pacific from their head coach on down, and we're going to catch their best effort. You know, I knew that from a morale standpoint, to get a road win at Southern Illinois would really help us try to go get a road win against a tough Idaho State team. I knew that.
As opposed to going to Duke.
As opposed to going to Arizona State with this particular team and 7 new guys, all of that has to be taken into consideration. How those guys are thinking, how they're feeling, the adjustment to Division I, the speed of the game, the officiating, where we would be mentally if we dropped a couple. So moving forward, like, I try to take it first 3 games. How would we feel mentally? What if this didn't work out? What if that worked out? Okay, next 3 games. Could we get through 3 games with this team? Could we win 2 out of 3 with this team in this short period of time? Who we would be playing? Who would be playing well? The teams that we're playing against. So you try to take it in segments and you try to break it down and you try to look at rosters. You look at their games. You look at their games the year prior, what their record was, and then who they've signed. How good are those players? How would they fit in with that coach? You know, so there's a lot more to it than just, you know, picking up the phone saying, is this date open or is it not open?
It's an amazing education to watch.
And I think it's, you know, at this level, the mid-major level, you have to be a little bit more creative. You know, if you're at a high major spot or high major institution and you got the money to go buy games, it's a lot easier to put a schedule together. You know, but when you're at a situation like this, I think you have to be creative. You have to consider all those factors when doing the scheduling.
Where in your mind does this team need to grow the most? Is it on the offensive end, defensive end? It could be anywhere.
That's a really good question. I think from a mental standpoint, just understanding that every play matters. You know, you can't take a play off. So just from a mental toughness standpoint and being consistent with how hard we play and how locked in we are in the game, because you think about like the Abilene Christian game, there was 1 or 2 plays, like your margin of error at this level was so small, and that one play that you think you could get back can be the difference between you winning or losing the game. Those free throws that you miss can be the difference between you winning or losing the game. That loose ball that you need to dive on, those 50-50 balls that we didn't get, when you look at those plays at the end of the game, when you lose by 2 points, it's like if we had this play back or that play back. So just understanding how hard you have to play consistently. You're not afforded plays off. You're not afforded plays off. If you want to win at a high level, you have to hold yourself accountable and your teammates, the people around you, at a level to where you're playing hard consistently every single play.
I feel like the culture you guys are trying to build, I feel like that sentiment would probably best be disseminated through one of your upperclassmen on the court. Eventually, you get to the point where you're going to have a guy say, "Hey guys, you know, we can't be taking the first 5 minutes of the first half lightly. I mean, we got to go out there and you got to have players that hold everybody else accountable." Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you know, and add on to the first that question, I think maturity. I think it's so huge, maturity, because, you know, you kind of look at it like this. Our team has, they're away from their families, and you kind of got to look at it like they've just added 4 new stepfathers into their lives. Sometimes you like stepfathers, sometimes you don't like stepfathers.
What kind of stepfather are you, LP?
I'm a very direct stepfather. So, you know, like for a lot of our guys, this is the first time they've been told that's not the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it. Do it again. Do it over. Do it right. That's not right. Do it again. Do it over. No, that's not right. Do it this way. Catch it with 2 hands. Pass it with 2 hands. No, that's not right. That's a travel. like over and over and over. And, you know,
Those are championship habits.
Those are championship habits. And to hold a kid accountable for that every day, you know, kids don't like it sometimes. And the maturity factor is being able to accept coaching, being able to accept criticism, and not take it personal. It's not personal. I would be disappointed if one of our players did not like me off the floor. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hear coaches all the time say, I don't care if they like me or not. I would be hurt. I would be disappointed if any one of our kids, managers, anyone, support staff, did not like me off the floor. On the floor, I don't have a problem with it because I'm coaching accountability and I'm coaching you to give you the best chance to win a game. That's my only goal, to help you get better and for us to be in a position to win a game. And if you do it enough, the right way, you can win a championship. You can do that. But the accountability, you're gonna have to be able to do it every day. And we get kids that are immature sometimes. This is the first time away from mom and dad. They've never been held accountable. So that's why you see the fluctuation in the, oh, we played so good. Oh, not so good. Oh, we played so good. Oh, not so good. That's maturity. And Roberto Gallinat, when I'm talking to him this year and I'm pointing something out to him, is, I got you, coach. I hear you, coach. I understand. A year ago, it was
Body language.
body language. Oh, you're kidding me? Oh, yes, I did. Oh, I did that. Well, you haven't quite bought into the right way to do it on a daily basis, which will put you in position to win a championship. What you've been used to is being able to get away with athleticism and being able to, you've got supreme athletic talent, and you can just get away with doing it the wrong way. At this level, you can't do it. You've got to be able to do it fundamentally the right way over and over and over again.
I guess we'll leave it with one. I want one thought from each of you. What does the phrase buy-in mean to you? There was a little birdie that told me after the UNLV game, one of you guys wrote buy-in on the chalkboard, which is a very broad statement, but I think one that obviously is very relevant what you guys are trying to do. So what does that mean to either one of you?
I think buy-in, it's almost blind trust. You know, even if you think that what I'm saying to you is wrong or you may not agree with it, trusting that I have the best interest at heart for you and his team. You know, sometimes it may not be what you want to do, or it may not be what you think is the right thing, but you got to trust the process. You got to trust your coach. You got to trust individuals who's leading the way, which is our head coach, you know. And being bought in is doing things sometimes that you don't want to do. You know, it's running through that brick wall for your teammates and for the coaching staff, because if that's what it takes to be successful as a unit.
I think the word buy-in means trust. It just means I trust what you're saying. I trust what you're saying. If you tell me to have vision away from the ball, see both, and if there's penetration, commit to rotating and putting my foot on the baseline 10 out of 10 times, and it's going to work out. Everybody else is going to be where they're supposed to be. If I get to that point, if I do it 10 times, the guys behind me are going to sink and fill, and then the opposition is not going to have anywhere to go, and they're going to have to kick it back out, and our defense is going to be set. If I do it 10 out of 10 times, we're going to be just fine. We'll get stops 10 out of 10 times. And commit to it over and over and over and over and over again, and never question it. That's what I believe buying in is. If there's any question that, there's a different way you can do it, you know, the way we did it in junior college, or the way we did it in prep school, or the way we did it in high school worked pretty good for us, you haven't bought in. You haven't bought in. And you usually end up coming a play short or 2 plays short. Or at some point during the game, you broke down and you didn't do what you've been taught, and the game got away from you like that.
I buy into you guys. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
Zach.
I buy into this food at Midgley.
Yeah, it's
Midgley's on the
delicious.
Brick Walk in Lincoln Center.
Delicious.
Thank you, Chef Midgley. Appreciate
Really
you guys.
good. Really
Happy
good.
holidays.
All right, Z.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays, man.